This is Monday, August 31st.
Yep.
I'm Frida Dillard. I'm here with Boots Hinton. How are you doing today, Boots?
Let's put it this way, better than yesterday.
Good.
Taking one day at a time. We beat cancer the second time, and the doctors have me on a strict regimen, and I'm following that, and it's working. I'm gaining weight, 1 to 2 pounds a week, and this is making them happy. Dr. Dewan ran me through a CAT scan. Here, let's see, this is Monday, it'll be 3 weeks ago today. Zero. Nothing showed on the CAT scan.
Awesome.
Oh, he thought so. He was just as happy as a dad young new pup and a dad young fresh herd of cats. I'm telling you. And trying to make me happy too. Because it means that things are going our way. And yeah, I have things that keep me kind of under stress, but I can't let it really get to me. And the one thing that is keeping me under stress right now is the disunity in the Clyde and Monty family. And there's a bunch of backbiting going on. There's a bunch of name calling going on. A bunch of false accusations going on and everything. Somebody came up with a deal of that I was being coerced and everything. I want to tell you something. There's only one SOB that can coerce me, and that's me. So the museum is being run straight. It's correct. No false stuff in there. One thing was, there was a question about the hammer gun. Well, fine. The hammer gun is a replica gun. It's not the real gun. And speaking with Rhonda, she said, yeah, she said, I know where the real gun is, and it cost him quite a penny. So that he's trying to pass off a gun as the real gun? No, it's a replica gun.
I think the question was in the wording that's on the description of the gun, and Perry agrees that it's not quite right, but he's not a real computer guru, so he's working on making the correction on that.
Well,
it's not a matter of intentionally misrepresenting, it's just not using correct wording.
Yeah. It's so easy. Grandmother had to say it. She said the least said is the easiest mended.
True.
Well, there's a couple of 3 cats out there right now that are yapping their jaws. And it's real funny. One of them started out with Clyde and Monty 6 years ago as an autograph collector. 3 people that's doing all this hatchet jawing and everything. Started out as an autograph collector a little over 6 years ago. And I helped him through getting those autographs certified. And by giving him the names of people, he asked about Joplin, and I told him to get hold of John Hounshall, who was the PR officer for the Joplin Police Department. He has now moved up to Chief of Security for the Joplin Public School System. That was one contact. And we got a copy of Chief Detective Ed Portney's file as a result of that. And then we get to working on other stuff and trying to find one additional known copy of Bonnie's signature. They had two, they needed three. They couldn't come up with that third one. Had four on Clyde, so no problem there. Anyhow, the document examiner certified Clyde's as positive, Bonnie's as probably genuine, but that the regulations of the document examiners required three known. Only had two on her. And finally wound up, got him with John Fox, curator of the FBI Museum. And we ran that deal through the hoops. And we finally found Clyde's federal file. Luckily enough, someone had caterwauled him. Had to do a dead building search in Dallas. Why? The Dallas field office had been moved 3 times in my lifetime, to my knowledge. And we found it back in the corner, down in the basement, wood 4-drawer filing cabinet with no labels on it. No one knew what the hell it was. Investigation, it was Clyde. 993 pages. Okay. Now everybody wants to take credit for finding that file and such as that. There was a bunch of damn police work that went about finding that file. Working with John
Hold on
Fox.
just a second while the people leave here, so we're not interrupted.
Because people had said that they were long lost, no trace of them or anything else. And they were there in the Dallas field office, down in the basement, back over in the corner by themselves. Wood 4-drawer filing cabinet. That should have been the first damn clue right there. And it turned out to be 993 pages of Clyde, even though that thing wasn't labeled. And it includes not only the correspondence from the Dallas field office to Washington, but it includes the correspondence from like St. Louis to Chicago, Chicago to Washington, Washington to St. Louis. You know, I mean, it includes all of the memos. That's the reason for the 993 pages. And it was truly a dadgum gold mine. Try and examine it. I've had it 5 years, and I'm roughly a quarter of the way through it. Examining it at night when nothing's on television I'm interested in, such as that. Excuse me. And I'm roughly a quarter of the way through it. So there's a lot there.
I've never heard you being given that much credit for the work you put into it.
I don't get credit for anything. I don't get paid for anything. You know, it's, you see me and these documentaries and such as that, and I don't get paid a jack nickel for that. And that brings up when Bill Decker was sheriff in Dallas. Beatty tried to get information and pulled a little chicanery. And Ted and I would always run around together on Monday. That was my day off. And we were in Decker's office down there. And sitting there, Ted told Decker, he says, Decker, he says, son's got a little story he wants to tell you. I just looked at him, I said, which one? He said, what happened Friday night? So I told him. And what had happened is they had made
Okay, so my video skills aren't that cool, and I don't know how to set my phone to record longer than it does, so we're doing this in snippets. What happened? What was the story that you told Decker about the dinner?
Well, they were staying at the North Park Inn, and the restaurant at the North Park Inn was on the mezzanine and had stairs that went up between planters to the restaurant. And the man that had set up the meeting and everything was there. Ted was there, I was there, and Ted even took Morris Hurl, his attorney, ready to do business. Ted sitting with his back to the planter. I'm facing him. Morris Hurl was sitting to my left, and Sandy was sitting to my right. And we were sitting there discussing, and he had told us that the director was having trouble with the rushes, and that Mr. Beatty had been called elsewhere on urgent business. And we had just about finished the meal, and nothing looks like Warren Beatty sticking his head up over a planter to see what's going on, unless it's Warren Beatty sticking his head up over a planter to see what's going on. And then he ducked back down, and we finished the meal. Got through, we take off. We're heading home to take Morris home. About halfway there, I unloaded on it. Ted started to turn around. I reached over and grabbed the steering wheel, and I said, nope, you're not going to do that. I said, we're going to take Morris home, and we're going home. Because if you go back over there, you're going to unload on those clowns, and I haven't got enough money in my pocket to bail you out. Morris told him, he says, he's right. We took Morris home, we went home. And then the following Monday is when we were in Decker's office. And Ted had me tell Decker what happened. And Decker just crimson-faced. He says, Hoss, he says, all down through the years you've helped everyone on Clyde and buying everything. And you haven't made a plug-ass nickel on it. He says, anyone runs at you with something like this again, you tell them to see your agent. Ted says, well, fine, Skip, who is my agent? Decker thumped himself on the chest and says, me, and you ain't doing nothing for nothing no more. So that describes how the Hinton family has fared. You know, we haven't made a nickel off of it. It is kind of a labor of love, because Ted, the protector of the families. And one day down at the sheriff's office, one of the deputies asked him why. He said, real simple. Somebody's got to protect those lambs from the wolves. And believe it or not, for 43 years, not a one of them got stung in any promotion that someone came up with, because they'd come to Ted first. They'd come to Ted first, and he'd say, yeah, he said, Johnny's a good old boy. Johnny will treat you fair. You can do business with you. And then maybe old Pete would come along. Now, wait a minute. You don't want nothing to do with Pete. Pete's a dadgum guy that, well, let's put it this way, he's a slick-tongued devil. You don't want nothing to do with him. And that was how he did it. And that worked for 43 years. When Dad died, fell over on my shoulders. And I'm still doing it. And with that statement, I identified myself. Because people know who does that.
Too bad we don't have Bill Decker representing you anymore, huh?
Tell me. Bro, I'm telling you. Only one bearer ever got stung, and that was Marie. And she got stung on Clyde's shirt deal. She didn't get what she should have out of it. And she also got stung on Clyde's pants, the swatches of Clyde's pants. She got stung on both of those. But there is light at the end of the tunnel. One day, sitting on the bench out here in front of the museum, she and I were talking. She said, little Ted, I want to tell you something. I said, what's that, sure? She says, your record so far as keeping us from getting hurt and everything is still intact. Because had I come to you on those two things, I'm sure you would have told me to stay away from that slick-tongued devil. I said, you're right, I would have. And that made me feel better because I was doing what Ted had done. And it only had one failure. So there's a lot in Clyde's body that people don't know. Right now, the thing that they know more than anything else is all this BS that's going on. And it needs to stop. It needs to stop. If you've got an accusation of something being false, file it, damn it. Don't gape-mouth it around and such as that, and come up with facts not in evidence and such as that. Go the legal justice route. File it. All that and everything is a bunch of BS. And it needs to come to a damn screeching halt. Either put up or shut up. And I think I've just about said enough.
Well, I've got a couple of questions for you. I want you to tell people what the doctors told you a year ago.
Well, actually, it was a year and a half ago.
Okay, yeah, a year and a half ago.
Yeah. The museum had run me into the ground. 12 years. I've been running this museum. The last 3 years by myself. And Ken, my partner, died. I therefore had the whole thing by myself. And the doctor says, it's run you into the ground. I said, well, the doctor says, two alternatives. Keep going like you are, you'll be dead within 6 to 8 months. Back off, you can make it. the next morning I was back off. And they started running me through all kinds of tests and such as that. And I wound up in 3 different hospitals and wound up in a nursing home where I am now. And I'm coming back by doing what the doctors have been telling me. And I'm able to come over to the museum 3, sometimes 4 days a week when Perry can put up with me. And just to keep my hand in to answer people's questions and such as that and everything. And
Who picks you up and brings you up here and takes you back home?
Perry does.
Don't you have people that come to visit you at the home to see you and talk to you?
Yeah.
How do they know how to come see you?
They come over here to the museum and everything, and then talking with Perry, he tells them how to get over there and such and that. And
So you're being kept in the loop.
sure,
You know, I know that a lot of people they didn't know the circumstances or don't want to know the circumstances towards the sale of the museum, but even from the time that Ken died, we knew that would probably be what happened. And that it would have to be sold because financially there were some problems. And so would you not agree that things are, as we talked about this morning, things happen the way they were supposed to?
well,
If Perry had not bought this museum, where would the museum be right now?
under a different control. There were people that were interested in the thing, but they weren't in the loop. And they would have paid quite a bit for it.
But did they have the passion for the history?
No, the people that
I hate this having to piecemeal it here. Do you know anything about Ken approaching anybody about a partnership in the museum back before he died?
nope, he did not. There were people who approached him, and this was someone who claims to be a historian collector now, and 6 years ago didn't even know what was going on. So he turned him down. And
What's left around here is any kind of building?
you know, it was one of those things that, yeah, the little museum could carry its weight. After Ken died, I kept it rolling for over 3 years on just what the museum was making and paying my salary. And that was it. Keeping the bills.
And I was pretty privy to how difficult that was and
Yeah, well,
everything that was going on.
I was keeping the bills paid and such as that, taxes and all that. And the thing was, the museum is a demanding lady, very much so. And it got to be so much that I couldn't handle it. It just flat beat me into the ground.
There are those who have pretended to know how Ken would have felt about how the museum's being handled, how it's being run today, the things that are being offered in the museum in the way of souvenirs. What do you think he would think about how it's going?
The museum is going in the direction that Ken wanted to. And
Would you say that again, please?
the museum is going in the direction that Ken wanted to. A lot of people thought that Ken was rich. Ken was not rich. He did have some money stashed away, but it wasn't what everyone thought. So as a result, he couldn't do what he wanted to do. But I believe he would say that, yep, it's going in the direction I want it to go. So, you know, it's just one of those things that I ran out of airspeed, altitude, and ideas all at the same time. And that's a hell of a crash.
True.
And I was the recipient of that crash. Just thank God I'm through with the cancer. And yes, they're treating me for it and all that. But we're coming in.
Okay, so tell me how Ray Lane found out about what's going on. Do you know anything about that?
In the current day,
Yes.
Raylene and I talk to each other quite often. And I told her what was happening. And that I was mad. 2 lines were crossed. One of the authors published some stuff on Wikipedia about Ted, that Ted was delusional in the last 2 years of his life. He played handball up until, let's see, they removed his left kidney the Tuesday after Easter in '77. He went back in the hospital the following last Monday in September, and 24 days later he was dead. But playing handball at 72 years of age, he's delusional. Play handball with me, son, I'll show you delusional. Because Ted and I played handball together. And then somebody has decided to go after Ken. Because Ken had the movie car before we did the museum. We were coming down here to Gibbon with the movie car for the festival every year before the museum. Ken and I, we were like partners in that car. And I kept it running and he kept it booked. And no, Ted's not here to take up for himself. I am, and I damn sure will. Same thing with Ken. He's not here. He can't take up for himself. I can, and I damn sure will. Those are 2 lines you shall not cross.
I don't think, in defense, I can't say that any of y'all, Ted or you or Ken, have actually been attacked. It's just that you're being used as ammunition.
And we've been very attacked.
In the past, yes. But you're being used as ammunition of what people believe that y'all think and how y'all feel and what's on your minds. And as we know, Ted and Ken are not here to express their opinions. And but I agree with you. I think Ken would be very happy with what's going on around here right now. Now, what about Ray Lane? How's Raylene been treated?
Raylene, these clowns, one of which is one of the blabbermouths, treated her like crap.
Even was demanding that she take a DNA test.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And that was to prove that someone out in California was a relative.
Right. Can you imagine if they'd had to take DNA tests for every person who's claimed to be a relative?
This pertained to a lady out in California that said that she was Bonnie and Debbie Dee's love child, and they wanted the DNA test to prove didn't happen. And Raylene had been treated illy on other things, possessions of Billy, such as that. I don't see how she's kept from taking somebody's head off so far. I know one person that she wanted to take his head off, and that was the one that came up with that DNA deal.
Right.
But
well, give the devil his due. He did offer to give the stuff back to Raylene, and she was so upset and tired and of the whole mess that she said just keep it. And I feel like I'm the type of person, and most people would be, you wouldn't even offer to give it back, you would just give it back.
that would be my thought. That would be my thought.
Especially when you found out that this stuff belonged to her family.
Yeah, and also Blanche's stuff got in there. And it was mixed up in that gym mix. That was a disaster. A lady, supposedly good friend of Blanche's, wound up in custody. And that deal, like I say, wound up in disaster.
Well, something else that's been discussed is the phone over here on the wall. Can you give the story about that phone?
The information I have on that phone is that it was the phone that was on the wall over at the filling station around the corner here. The phone that the three officers, Ted, Hamer, and Henderson Jordan, used to call their agencies to tell them that they had gotten Clyde and Bonnie. Now, I never did see it around there on the wall, but I was told by a reputable source that it was there.
So this isn't a story that Perry has made up.
No, not a bit.
Okay, Boots. What do you think's behind all of these attacks?
Well, it's real simple. So what, your cat's wanting to be the big cat in the litter box and they can't find the damn litter box. Biting and snapping. Like a damn mad dog in a meat yard. If they can't come up with something factual, they come up with something that sounds good, it ain't worth the powder to blow it to hell. And my thoughts to them are this. You say that there's something illegal going on, file a damn suit. Come on, put your money where your mouth is.
How about calling the person that you've got the issue with? I mean, one of these parties even called Alan Olson at the Dallas Historical Society. Alan asked me and Buddy, what was that about? You know, I haven't even talked to Boots in a while. Why would I know anything that's going on?
This is an example of, I gave this person Alan as a contact back, I think it was when we were working on the autographs. See if Dallas Historical Society had any.
Yeah.
Okay, turned out they didn't. But for someone to use a contact that I've given them without asking, I had given this person, Alan, as a contact while working on the autograph deal. And he goes ahead and contacts Alan, their old lifelong friends. He better call me and ask me if he can use Alan. Because I value my dadgum contacts closely.
So is there anything you'd like to add just to kind of close and
Yeah. Stay off of dead people. Leave Ted alone, leave Ken alone. Leave Bonnie alone in the thing. There's some living people that need to be left alone. Raylene for one. Rita Dillard for one. Perry has inherited a storm. And he didn't stir it up. Some other guys stirred it up. And it's ridiculous to see a storm like this.
and each of those people have their own motive for what they did, and we won't go into all of that and drag out all the dirty laundry.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Facts are facts. Present the facts. Let the facts dwell out. If they can prove that something's a fake, fine. Come on. Otherwise, shut the hell up.